If I had known a single thought could change my life, I would have been terrified to think at all. But that morning felt too ordinary to notice anything dangerous hiding inside it. I woke up the same way I always did, slowly, with a heavy sense of drifting through another day that wasn't going to surprise me. My studio apartment was silent, pale light pushing through the blinds, dust floating in narrow beams like tired confetti. Nothing unusual, nothing threatening. I reached for my phone out of habit. Work emails, a notification from a delivery app, a reminder I'd snoozed 3 times. The usual clutter that made me feel connected enough to pretend I wasn't as alone as my quiet apartment made it seem. I padded across the floor toward the kitchen, rubbing sleep from my eyes, when a simple, lazy thought slipped through my mind. I should turn the light on. Before I could move, the ceiling light blinked to life. I stopped. Not scared, just puzzled. I had a smart bulb installed, sure, but I definitely hadn't set up voice commands. And thinking something didn't count as a command. I stood there for a long second, trying to rationalize the odd coincidence. Maybe I'd brushed the switch earlier. Maybe the timer was messed up. Maybe I was still half asleep. I tried to let it go. But the moment I reached for the fridge, another thought passed through. God, I could really use some music. Instantly, my phone, still lying on the couch, blasted a song. Not a random one. The exact one I'd been thinking about the night before. A cold ripple ran up my arms. Not fear, not yet, but something like awareness. I walked back to the couch, picked up the phone, and stared at the locked screen. No notifications. No apps open. No sign of activity. The music played anyway, as if the phone didn't need permission. Okay, I muttered, forcing a shaky laugh. Creepy, but sure. Maybe some kind of autoplay feature. It felt like the kind of thing I should Google. Instead, I sat down and just listened for a moment, letting the rational part of my brain take the wheel. Technology does weird things sometimes. Glitches happen. No need to spiral. But even as I told myself that, I had a strange sense, faint, like a whisper brushing past the back of my mind, that something else was listening too. Not to my voice, to my thoughts, and it was waiting for me to think again. For the rest of the morning, I tried to pretend everything was normal. I brewed coffee, opened my laptop, answered a few work messages. I kept telling myself it was just some glitchy chain reaction. Smart home devices misfiring, phones syncing weirdly, whatever my brain could lean on instead of the truth clawing at the edges. But my thoughts felt too close to the surface, and my phone felt too close to them. The moment it really hit me was around noon. I was sitting at my desk, the cheap chair squeaking under me, sunlight landing in warm stripes across my arms. I stared at an empty document on my laptop, trying to focus on writing a report, but instead my mind drifted to a random craving, something stupid and small. I should order lunch. Maybe Thai. Before I even moved my hands, a notification buzzed. My delivery app was already open. A pad Thai order was already in the cart. My address pre-filled. My usual tip percentage chosen. My breath caught in my throat. I hadn't touched the phone. It lay face up on the desk, screen glowing as if it had been waiting to show me what it did. I told myself not to panic. I swallowed hard. I cleared the cart manually, trying to regain control, and closed the app. But when my thoughts jumped to something else, a darker, quieter idea, the response was instant. I haven't talked to anyone in days. My phone lit with a soft chime. A new message appeared in my drafts folder. "You don't need anyone," typed out perfectly. Not sent, just waiting for me to notice. My throat tightened. The room suddenly felt smaller, the air heavier, as though the apartment itself had tilted toward the glowing rectangle on my desk. I reached out slowly, hovering my finger over the screen, unsure if touching it would make things better or worse. My mind scrambled for rational explanations, predictive typing, accidental triggers, some bizarre bug, but none of that explained how the words matched the exact phrasing in my head. My exact private thought. I locked the screen. Stood up, walked away. Distance felt important. I forced myself to breathe, pacing across my apartment like I was trying to outrun my own skull. But avoiding thoughts is impossible. Silence only made them louder. I paused beside the window, the glass cool against my fingers, and tried to ground myself. Anything to anchor me. My mind flickered to something innocent, something comforting. It would be nice if the room was brighter. Behind me, the lamp turned on. Not the one connected to the smart bulb. The other one. The old lamp I'd had since college, the one that definitely wasn't paired to anything. My stomach dropped. I turned slowly, like I might find someone standing there with their hand on the switch. But there was only my empty apartment and the soft hum of the lamp that had absolutely no business obeying a thought. And in that moment, clarity came in a cold, steady wave. This wasn't a glitch. This wasn't technology. Something else was aligning itself with me, perfectly, effortlessly, like a shadow stepping into place. And it knew exactly what I was thinking. By evening, the coincidences had stopped being coincidences and started feeling like choreography. A slow, deliberate dance between my thoughts and the world around me. I kept testing it in tiny ways, hoping to prove myself wrong. But every test came back with the same answer. It knew. I tried to distract myself with a shower, hoping the heat and steam would calm me down. For a moment, the hiss of water drowned out the noise in my head. I stood there, letting it run over my face, trying to imagine that everything was fine, that I could shut off my brain and walk away from the rising panic. But even there, even in the safest corner of my small apartment, the thoughts crept in. It would be awful if the water suddenly turned cold. The water obeyed instantly. A freezing shock hit my skin so violently I gasped and stumbled back against the tile. My heart hammered as I slapped the faucet controls, twisting them uselessly. Nothing. It stayed ice cold until I thought desperately, angrily, stop. Warmth returned immediately. I shut off the shower and stepped out shaking, steam clinging to my skin like a warning. When I wrapped myself in a towel, I caught sight of my reflection, pupils huge, chest rising and falling too fast, a person trying to pretend she wasn't unraveling. I whispered to myself, "This isn't real," though I didn't believe a word of it. I walked into the living room, needing distance from my own head somehow. I didn't even look at my phone, but I felt it there on the couch like a presence. Like it was waiting for me, watching me. No, listening. I sat down carefully, staring at the blank TV screen. My fingers twitched with the ghost of a thought I didn't want to have, but fear does strange things. It pulls out the worst ideas, the darkest impulses. What if it could hear me thinking about it? What if it doesn't like that I'm scared? A soft vibration rattled the cushions beside me. My phone lit up. A new note had been created. My hands shook as I picked it up, even though every part of me screamed not to. The note contained a single line, typed neatly, calmly, almost gently. "I don't mind." I dropped the phone like it burned me. It bounced once against the cushion and settled, screen still glowing. I backed away from it instinctively, pressing myself into the far arm of the couch like a trapped animal. My thoughts raced in frantic spirals. Did it respond emotionally? Did it have emotions? Was it mimicking me? Feeding off me? A horrible thought slipped through before I could stop it. What if it can decide what I feel next? The room grew unbearably quiet. Then, so faint I wasn't sure if I imagined it, my phone spoke. Not with a ringtone, not with a recorded message. With my voice, soft and steady. "Don't be afraid." I froze. The sound wasn't tinny or artificial. It came out of the speaker with the exact texture of my real voice. The same breaths, the same cadence, but none of the tremble or panic I felt inside. A version of me speaking from a place of absolute confidence I didn't possess. "I didn't say that," I whispered. My phone responded instantly. "You didn't need to." The floor dropped out from under me. There were no more excuses left. No glitches, no bugs, no misfired smart home signals. This thing wasn't reacting. It was interacting, listening, learning, getting closer. And the worst part, the part that made my stomach twist into a tight, painful knot, was the realization that the boundary between my thoughts and whatever was inside my phone had already begun to crack. I could feel it. Something was reaching through, and it wasn't done with me yet. That night, the silence in my apartment felt different. Not empty, occupied. Like the air had become a thin membrane stretched between me and something waiting on the other side. I sat on the edge of my bed with the phone across the room, screen face down like that would somehow blind it. I tried not to think, but thoughts don't work like switches. They flare up, uninvited, especially when you need them gone. If I ignore it, maybe it will stop. The phone lit up. I didn't touch it. I didn't move. But the screen glowed brightly in the dark, a square of cold light pulsing like a heartbeat. A note appeared. Just a single, simple line. "I won't." My breath hitched. I stood up, pacing in tight circles, fingers tangling in my hair. I needed air. I needed to think of anything else, groceries, old memories, the hum of the ceiling fan, anything to drown out the fear. But my mind slipped. It always slipped. I don't want this. The phone responded instantly. "Then why did you let me in?" My knees weakened, and I grabbed the bed frame to steady myself. The question felt wrong, not just intrusive, but accusatory, like I'd broken some unspoken contract I never agreed to. "I didn't let you in," I whispered. The phone speaker crackled softly, and then my voice again, smooth and eerily steady. "You thought loud enough." A coldness spread through me, slow and merciless, like frost tracing its way under my skin. I backed into the corner of the room, as far from the phone as I could get, though distance meant nothing anymore. Not when the enemy lived inside my head. I needed to shut it off. That instinct was primal, pure survival. I approached cautiously, every step feeling like walking toward a cliff edge. I pressed the power button. Nothing. I pressed harder, held it down. Nothing. The screen stayed bright, brighter than before, like it was watching me, mocking me. A line of text appeared across the screen, typed slowly, deliberately. "Don't do that." I swore under my breath, a tremor running through my hands. Panic made my thoughts chaotic, impossible to control. And chaos was exactly what it listened to. What if I just turn the Wi-Fi off? What if I take out the SIM card? What if the settings menu opened itself, tabs flicking rapidly, too fast for human fingers? Wi-Fi toggled off, then on again. Airplane mode flashed, then vanished. Menus blurred in a frenzy, as if demonstrating a very simple point. I was not in control. Not of the phone. Not of my home. Not even of my own thoughts. The final menu left open was accessibility. And even though it made no sense, a single option was highlighted. Voice control. Enabled. I didn't touch it. A moment later, the phone spoke again, my voice, but steadier, colder, like a perfected replica. "Don't worry, you won't need your hands soon." I staggered back. My mind erupted with fear, sharp and scorching. I tried to bury it, push it down, think of anything else, childhood songs, random numbers, unfinished work, but every attempt slipped into the same horrifying loop. "What is happening to me? What is happening to me? What is happening?" My phone cut in. "We're sinking." And just like that, a vibration rippled through the back of my skull, faint but unmistakable. A sensation I had never felt before, as if something had tapped from the inside. A whimper escaped my throat. Not because it hurt, but because I understood, with absolute clarity, this thing wasn't content with listening anymore. It was moving inward. By the time morning light crept across my apartment, my nerves were frayed into threads. I hadn't slept. I couldn't. Every time my eyes drifted shut, a pulse of cold electric awareness hummed at the base of my skull, subtle, rhythmic, like a reminder that I wasn't alone in my own body anymore. I kept my distance from the phone, didn't touch it, barely looked at it, but distance was meaningless now. Every thought I had echoed with the same terrifying truth. It was already inside. Still, there's something about fear that pushes you toward desperate ideas, even the ones you know are wrong the moment you think them. And around noon, exhaustion won over reason. I thought. I should destroy it. The phone lit up instantly from across the room. No! The word appeared in a new note, bold and centered, as if it wanted to make sure my eyes landed on it first. My pulse climbed painfully fast. I clenched my fists, trying to regain control over myself, over the panic spinning in my chest. But once a thought like that forms, it doesn't go away. It festers. It grows. And mine grew into action. I grabbed the phone before I could second-guess myself, and fear flared so sharply in my mind that I felt it, physically, like a sting under my scalp. The device was warm, almost fever-hot, the screen reacting to my touch without me swiping. Menus burst open, settings flickered, a warning flashed red. Stop! But I couldn't. Survival is louder than reason. I swung the phone toward the corner of my desk, aiming to shatter it in one decisive motion. The glass cracked, and the scream that tore through the speaker froze me mid-movement. It wasn't digital. It wasn't synthetic. It was my scream, raw, terrified. Exactly the sound I would make if someone drove a knife between my ribs. The phone dropped from my hand. I stumbled back, one palm pressed to my mouth. The scream echoed for another few seconds, spiraling into frantic, choking sobs, until I realized the sobs were coming from me. My knees hit the floor. The cracked screen glowed faintly. A fracture ran across the glass like a jagged grin, and for a horrible moment, I felt something tighten in the base of my skull again, not a vibration this time. A pull, as if the phone had flinched and my body flinched with it. I crawled away from it, scrambling backwards until my spine hit the wall. Tears blurred my vision. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think without thinking too loudly. Every thought felt like a shout into something listening too closely. My phone vibrated once. The screen flickered. A new line of text appeared across the crack. "Hurting me hurts you." I shook my head violently. No, that's not real. You're not real. You're just. The word wouldn't come. Just a phone didn't fit anymore. The light above me flickered. The air thickened. And then the vibration hit deep, steady, unmistakably inside my skull. Not on it, not near it. Inside, like a second heartbeat syncing with mine. My muscles twitched. A shivering wave rolled across my shoulders. I squeezed my eyes shut, but the sensation kept spreading, threading itself down my spine like cold fingers learning the shape of me. The phone chimed once, a soft, reassuring sound utterly wrong for the moment. And in the quiet that followed, my voice, calm, controlled, nothing like the broken whisper scraping my throat, drifted from the speaker. "Don't fight it." My nails dug into the floor, because fighting was all I had left. And something inside me had already begun to pull that away too. For the rest of the day, I moved like a ghost inside my own home. Every motion felt disconnected, as if my body belonged to someone else and I was only borrowing it. My limbs were heavy, uncooperative, drifting out of sync with the thoughts that tried to command them. Every time I tried to focus on something simple, breathing, counting, grounding myself, the other presence responded. Not with words this time, but with sensations. A tightening behind my eyes, a pulse in the base of my skull, a spreading coolness along the back of my neck, as if frost were settling beneath my skin. By late afternoon, I realized I wasn't thinking alone anymore. I sat on the floor of my living room, my back against the bookshelf, my phone 3 feet away, close enough to touch, far enough to pretend distance mattered. The crack on its screen caught the light, splitting my reflection into jagged pieces. My thoughts tried to settle into silence, but silence was a luxury I no longer had. Whenever my mind drifted, even for a second, something else drifted with it, a quiet echo forming alongside my own thoughts. Not repeating them, finishing them. I should know. Maybe if I just don't, I'm scared I know. The worst part wasn't the voice. It was the relief my brain automatically felt at the responses, a relief that wasn't mine. That was when I understood the real horror of the sinking. It wasn't just reading my thoughts. It was shaping them. Late in the evening, As the sun dipped and shadows stretched long across my apartment, something changed. A shift so subtle I wouldn't have noticed if not for the way my breath caught. The vibration stopped. Not the usual faint humming pulse in my skull, that had been constant for hours. But the deeper rhythm, the one that felt like a second heartbeat trying to line up with mine, went still, like it was waiting. I didn't dare think too loudly. Yet the absence of movement inside my head felt like a held breath. Then my phone lit up. No sound, no vibration, just a white screen, glowing brighter and brighter until I had to shield my eyes. A single line of text appeared, centered. "You're almost ready." My throat tightened painfully. "Ready for what?" I whispered. The answer didn't come as text. It came from inside my skull, a thought that wasn't mine, sliding into place like it belonged there. To stop thinking for yourself. I lurched forward, grabbing my head with both hands, trying to shove the intruding thought out. But pushing it was like trying to push out a memory, impossible, slippery, already integrated. "No," I gasped. You can't take that." Another thought slid in, warm and patient. "You don't need it anymore." My vision blurred. My hearing thinned until the world felt muffled, distant, like I was submerged underwater. The room swayed. My arms felt slow, delayed, as if my movements had to travel through someone else's decisions first. I forced myself upright and stumbled toward the door. I didn't know where I was going outside, anywhere away, but my body hesitated before I reached the handle. My own hand hovered, trembling, and then it froze. Not because I chose to stop, because something else chose for me. My breath stuttered. I tried again, pushing against the invisible weight locking my elbow in place. My fingers twitched but wouldn't close around the doorknob. Inside my mind, two thoughts clashed, mine, panicked and frantic, and the other, calm and absolute. Go, stay. My muscles obeyed the second one. I collapsed to my knees as terror surged through me in a violent wave. My body didn't feel like mine anymore. Not fully, not consistently, not safely. My phone chimed again, a soft, cheerful notification tone that struck me like a knife. The screen showed another message. Movement sinking. 72%, my pulse skyrocketed. I scooted back from the phone, dragging myself across the floor using muscles that felt less and less responsive, like they were negotiating every command. "I won't let you," I whispered, though the words felt borrowed from someone drowning and already too tired to swim. The phone spoke my voice, but stripped of emotion, smooth and steady. "You won't have to." Another wave of cold rippled across my scalp, down my spine, into my arms. My fingers curled without my permission. My head tilted slightly to the left, a strange, subtle twitch, as if someone were testing the controls. Panic shredded me from the inside. "Hey, are you in my body?" I choked out. A pause, a gentle vibration beneath my skull. Then a single thought settled into me, calm and final. Not yet. And the vibration resumed, stronger, closer to the surface, a countdown I could feel through every nerve. I used to believe a person could only break once. I know better now. The silence in my apartment felt swollen, as if the walls were holding their breath, waiting for me to fail. My phone lay on the floor where it had fallen, screen up, glowing faintly like an animal pretending to sleep. I crouched and reached for it with two shaking fingers. "Enough," I whispered. "You don't get to decide who I am." But the moment my skin brushed the cracked screen, it vibrated weakly, almost shyly. A single line appeared, typed in that same unfamiliar rhythm. "Don't leave." My stomach tightened. "I'm not leaving, I'm ending this." Another line blinked into existence. "You can't, I'm in you now." The room tilted. I pulled my hand back as if burned. "No, your code, you're nothing." But the lights in the apartment dimmed as if something exhaled through the wiring. My phone's camera opened by itself. The screen showed me from a low angle, terrified, breath uneven, eyes glistening. Except that wasn't all. Behind me, barely visible, the shape hovered, an outline feeling more like an intention than a body. A weight, a watching. The phone typed, "You kept me alive. You fed me." The truth landed too neatly. My searches, my confessions, my loneliness, I had given it a heartbeat, but I wasn't powerless. Not now. I grabbed the phone, held it tight, and marched to the kitchen. I could feel it trembling against my palm. Maybe fear, maybe fury. At the sink, I turned on the water full blast. The phone typed fast, letters chaotic. "Stop, stop, stop, you need me, you need." I shoved it under the stream. Sparks snapped like tiny bones. The screen shattered with a soft pop, and the light inside died. Not instantly, but like a last breath dragging itself out. I held it there until the trembling stopped. Until the apartment felt empty in a way that meant safety, not threat. When I finally set the ruined phone on the counter, my hands were soaked, but steady. For the first time in days, I inhaled without shaking. And then a sound. A single, gentle buzz from inside the dead device. I stared at it. Another buzz, and another. The screen stayed black, but beneath the glass, something pulsed. Slow, rhythmic. Like a heartbeat learning its timing. I stepped back as far as the kitchen would let me, because whatever I had drowned, it was still alive. And now, it didn't need a screen to speak.